If you are a certified sex addiction therapist, or you are somebody struggling with and has been struggling with pornography or sex addiction escorts for the longest time, and you're like, I can't stop. I know that CSATs become incredibly frustrated with clients who are like, oh no, it's so expensive to treat this. Like, your rates are so high, I couldn't possibly go to treatment or intensive outpatient, or I don't know that I can afford doing the work. And so I wanted to put forth one of the best strategies that I've seen in convincing people or understanding the cost of sex addiction. So here we go. The first and greatest hurdle to a sex addict getting actual recovery is their denial. Denial can easily be addressed when we look at dollars and cents, because the dollars and cents make sense. The most common excuses that addicts give for not getting help: oh, your rate is too high, or what you're charging I can't afford, going to intensive outpatient while seeing you, I can't do it. Let's be clear. No, the client, you, the sex addict, me, the sex addict, cannot afford not to treat the sex addiction. Continuing as is completely untenable. It's ridiculous. It's time to call BS. So let's go over some numbers, because the numbers do not lie, and in all cases I have gone conservative to avoid any conflict. Studies show that the average amount of time that a sex addict engages in their sex addiction per week is 11 hours. The average male sex addict finally seeks help when he turns 37. They retire at 67 years of age, so that's 30 years before retirement. Salary for a 37-year-old in the United States is $65,675. 50 40-hour work weeks. That works to $35.57 per hour. Now, there's something in economics called a reservation rate. So workers view leisure and income both as goods. They're interchangeable, right? The reservation wage is a dollar amount for which they would be willing to trade 1 hour of work for leisure, or vice versa. How do we calculate it? Well, at the very least, we would take what the federal government mandates, which is a 50% increase. Leisure time, overtime hours, are valued at $53.36 at minimum for the average 37-year-old male in the United States. The value of this time, $53.36 times 11 hours per week times 4 weeks, and let's pay the government too. Let's remove federal taxes, and we come to the number $2,000 per month. What is the increase in wages over time? Over the last 30 years, nominal wages have increased by an average of 4.4% annually. So we have to account for increases in pay and increases in value of time and value of labor, value of leisure. The average return on an S&P 500 over the last 30 years has averaged 9.9%. That's basically what you can count on over time. So what is the value of this time after 30 years of active sex addiction? We're going to calculate it, compounding with an initial deposit of $2,000 of time. If we were to trade that time for working overtime and deposit it monthly over 30 years at this rate of growth at retirement, the recovered sex addict would be sitting on nearly $12 million. In time alone, that is what is given up by the sex addict. Trade that time for working overtime and deposit it monthly. I would have never guessed that it would be this amount. What other costs are there aside from just the value of their time? We didn't even calculate and factor in the direct costs: paying escorts for pornography, paying mistresses, second families, second apartments, hotels, travel, medical costs associated with STDs, direct costs of associated cross addictions like drugs, alcohol. What does that cost? I don't know. Let's go with something really, really conservative and say that over time it would average to $3,600 per year, so $300 per month for all of those things over time. In most all cases, the actual number is not $300. It's significantly higher, many multiples higher. If we were to throw that into the mix and compound, we'd be sitting on $13.35 million, right? So now, what about the indirect costs of sex addiction? Well, we have costs of divorce. We have the value of lost relationships with children and other loved ones, other family members, the value of diminished life expectancy due to their addiction and cross addiction. There's loss of quality of life due to low self-esteem, loneliness, depression, anxiety that come along with sex addiction, and unstable intimate relationships. All of those are costs of sex addiction. And there are other collateral costs: car crashes, failed and foregone relationships of different kinds. So let's do a thought experiment. experiment. In the sex addict's dying days, if he were sitting on this pile of cash, $13.3 million, how much of it would he or she be willing to give up or pay to go back in time and eliminate these indirect costs that we've just mentioned? For no divorce, a happy and fulfilling marriage and sex life, no loss or diminished relationships with children and other families, several additional years of living, so on average 7 additional years, a minimum of 37 years with a dramatic improvement in self-esteem, a minimum of 37 years with significantly diminished loneliness, depression, anxiety, unstable intimate relationships, all of that, and no other collateral damages, no car crashes, failed and foregone opportunities for growth, getting in a time machine and getting those back. What would somebody at their end of life sitting on $13.38 million be willing to spend to get those things back? Well, I don't know. If it were me, hey, I would value that far more than the money, and I would think that of that 13 million, I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to keep 1.3 million and let it compound, and I'm willing to give 12 million back for all of those wonderful things. You might think that's a stretch, but really, is it? We're talking about a happy and fulfilled life, free from addiction and everything that goes along with it, and you still get to keep $1.3 million and live off the interest. I think the $12 million would be a reasonable price to undo the wreckage of the past. So, what is the actual cost of sex addiction by the age of 67? Well, with these numbers in mind, our most conservative estimate to any one person is $25 million. Give or take a little bit, perhaps. I do believe that this is really, really based upon conservative and reasonable numbers, erring on the side of cautious. So, if you are a sex addict and believe that, I can handle this, or it's no big deal. No, it is a big deal. It's a $25 million deal. $25 million, what would it take to click your fingers and make $25 million happen? If you were to walk into the roulette table with $15, throw it down on a number and win, and then throw it down on another number and win again, and then throw it down on another number and win again, and then throw it down on another number and win again, then walk out of the casino and somebody high-fives you and gives you an additional $2.5 million. Those are the odds of walking out of a casino from $15 to $25 million. Spending $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for an all-in treatment from your home to get you into a lifestyle that will very, very likely give you a $25 million return is a no-brainer. So we're talking about 3,125 times your investment. So for every $1 that you're investing in your recovery, you're getting $3,125 back. I mean, even if it gets you 70% of the way there and you have a couple hiccups, but make it, which is the worst case, it's worth it. Your recovery's worth it. The sex addict's life is absolutely worth it. And getting through denial with numbers is imperative. I hope you enjoyed this video. To find out more about this online outpatient program that we've started that includes you, the certified sex addiction therapist, you are an integral part of this program. Or if you, the sex addict, desperately wants to heal, please visit ehab.returntointimacy.com, or you can contact us at the phone number listed there, or email support@returntointimacy.com. Thank you.